I'll just say that all the opinions expressed are not of my own. That's all. There you go. All right, we good?
No, I don't hear no echo.
I would hope not.
You're good. You're
All right.
You're good.
All right. Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
All right. So, I wish I could be there with you all. I really do. But it's best to keep what I got here. So we are going to continue from last week, talking about listening. All right. It's so fun and exciting, I know. We're gonna get right on into it. As soon as I can click this button. There we go. As always, we start with the rules. Please keep your mic muted, except when asking or answering a question. Use the mic to speak. There's a feature on Zoom in the meeting room where you can raise your hand if you have a question. All questions must be on the topic. You have 60 seconds to ask or answer a question. If you pass your 60-second window, your mic will be muted for you. These rules are due to time and the recordings of the lessons. These are live teachings. You must give the Moreh enough time to complete the lesson. This will be mixed with discussions to help build one another. Please do not abuse the time.
You have a question in the room?
All right.
Yeah, do you want us to keep our mics muted in the class?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because you said we can't talk unless we have a question.
Well, I have a solution. I have a
Just go by the
solution.
rules.
Yeah, we're just trying to follow the rules.
Y'all trying me already. I didn't even, I'm still on the anyway. Here's the quote for the day. Nothing satisfies the Father more than obedience. You all know that's true. I said I want you to keep the mic open so it can make it feel like I was there. Now I was hearing what y'all was saying, you know. Now you don't want to do it, you can mute the mic. You don't want to do it.
You want to be obedient to the rules.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know.
Oh. All right.
You gave us the Torah.
Yeah. What happens when you don't listen? Let's talk about it. All right. Because you didn't listen. Somebody give me some consequences of not listening.
Confusion. Did you raise your hand? Yes. Confusion.
Okay, confusion.
Amana has her hand up.
Go ahead, Nadamar.
Your prayers will not be heard by the Father.
Yeah, they become an abomination.
We got a hand in the room.
Go ahead.
Death.
Yeah. You could lead to death, yeah. You know what? That's it. This confusion, death, and not being heard.
There's a lot, actually.
Okay. Go ahead.
David. Oh, you can see the hands. You want to call on the hands since you looking at it?
Go ahead, Xavier.
I was gonna say error or misdirection.
Yeah, same lines of confusion. So poor listening leads to assumptions and misunderstanding. These lead to errors, ineffective decisions, and or costly mistakes. Now, on a personal level, poor listening leads to hurt feelings and a loss of team cohesion or unity, which is what we're going to be speaking a lot of today, talking about being unified, one mind. Now, this deteriorates trust and weakens communication. When you think about these things, I said last week, did someone say Sukkot, in the future, if you want to be in a community or be a part of community, then these are the things that you're going to need to work on first as individuals before you can work on it as a whole. Because if you don't have that within yourselves first, then how can you deal with it as a community? It's not going to work because no one's on the same page. No one has that same mind, which we're going to see about today. All right. All right. Now, someone give me some examples of poor listening skills. All right, Joshua, go ahead.
Not doing what you're told. If your parents tell you come home before 10 and you come home after that, and that's a poor way of listening.
Oh, yeah. Being disobedient.
Got a hand in the room.
Okay.
Listening to respond and not listening to what's being said.
Okay. Online, we got Travis and S.
Impatience.
Lamadyahu.
Anger.
Anger is a poor listening skill?
Yes, because when you're angry, you're not really listening to what's being told to you. You're just like half listening because you're angry about a situation. You're not really listening to what's being told to you.
Yeah, you're letting your emotions get it. I got you.
Yeah, Ken.
Anyone else?
Hand in the room.
Go ahead.
Shutting down.
Yeah, so let's go through some of those. Now, when people talk, we seldom listen because we're usually too busy preparing a response. We talked about that last week, right? We're judging or filtering their words through our own paradigms. Let's look at some spacing out, doing other things besides listening. You got somebody on Zoom you're talking to, and they're up there talking, and you on your phone. I ain't never saying like I did that before. Let's give an example. Pretend listening, nodding your head, acting like you understand what's being said. Right. You don't really care to hear what's being said. Selective hearing or listening. I'm sorry, listening for them to stop speaking so you can respond. Right. That goes back to the spacing out. Right. So you're doing something, and also they're not talking. Then you feel like that's your cue to say something. Again, not that I do that person. Word listening, picking certain words to repeat. I know somebody does that.
Who that is?
So you say he was in the car. Okay, I got it. You're just making it seem like you're still hearing what's being said, but you just looking for key words to repeat. Self-centered listening, making what's being said about you. So you saying I was in the car. Okay. It's not always about you. These are the types of things that, we can encounter being around each other for a period of time. You start to learn people. So, what I'm saying is, this is all part of that process that we've been talking about this whole entire time. Your individual traits have to line up with the word. And then everybody's traits got to line up with the word in order for this to work. This is how you become like-minded. All right. So when you think about poor listening skills, what are some major causes and effects of poor listening? You may not know this one, but just throw something out there. Go ahead, Lamadyahu.
Poor decisions that you make because of your poor listening skills. You're not going to make logical decisions and choices.
Now, some of you said some of the actual causes and effects before. So you got your poor decision making. Okay, somebody give me another one. You probably already said it. Go ahead, Xavier.
Misunderstanding.
Okay,
Got a hand in the room.
go ahead.
Disorganization.
Mhm. Explain that a little bit. How can you be
Hand in the
disorganized?
room. Hand in the room.
You said to explain it a little bit.
Mhm.
If everybody is listening in different ways, they may not be hearing the same things, or they may be processing things the way they want to process them. And everybody attempts to do something the way they think it should be done. So it could be disorganization.
That goes back to what Moreh was saying about everything being confused. Bring about confusion with that.
Got
Good
another
point.
hand in the room.
Is somebody else who's in the room?
All right. Pride is a cause, can be a cause of poor listening.
Another hand in the room.
Go ahead.
Lack of trust.
Ooh, that's a good one. Lack of trust.
Got another hand in the room.
Go ahead.
Distractions.
Another hand in the room.
It goes back to what Namanda said with anger. That's the response for poor listening, and the first reaction with emotion.
All right, because you're listening to respond again. Anyone else? All right. So we talked about this before. This is sort of like a recap, but the listening barriers may be psychological, for example, the listener's emotions, right? Or physical, which is noise and visual distractions, which some of you said. Now, some of the most common barriers to effective listening include low concentration, lack of prioritization, poor judgment, and focusing on style. And this is your responses, pretending you hear and understand what's being said to you, rather than the substance of it, rather than actually comprehending and hearing what's being said to you. Okay? Now, it can result from various psychological or physical situations, such as visual or auditory distractions, physical discomfort, inadequate volume, lack of interest in the subject matter, stress, or personal bias. And remember, I also said, certain things can be a trigger, and those triggers can also affect how you respond to certain things that you're hearing or lack of hearing as well. All right, so here we go. Now, when it comes to the biblical understanding of not listening, one very important and almost certain consequence of not listening is what? Something that follow good to you.
I got three hands in the room.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say disobedience, but something the father would do would be a punishment.
Okay. Anybody agree with?
Yeah, two others agreed. They were going to say the same exact thing.
Lamadyahu?
Ken, Moreh, yeah, absolutely. If you're obedient, you're going to be blessed. And if you're disobedient, you're going to be cursed. So there's blessings and curses involved.
So it's judgment. All right. It's very important that, just like last week when we were talking about, when you come into this covenant, this is the obligation that you need to adhere to. The things the Father says that He wants done, the things that you said you will do. So if you don't do them, there's going to be consequences for that. Now, who remembers what it means to take heed? Go ahead, Naima.
Take heed is to listen to intently of the information that's been given to you.
Okay. So to take heed means to give serious attention to warnings, advice, some realities or facts or situations on ground, and take them into account when acting. It also means to be careful and precautious, to take care and ensure that certain things are done or not done to avoid ugly effects or unpleasant results. For example, be careful to do all my commandments. Right? All right, so let's get into this. Jeremiah 26, 4-6. You shall say to them, thus says Yahuah, if you will not listen to me to walk in my law that I have set before you, and to whom I send to you urgent, and to listen to the words of my servants, the prophets, whom I send to you urgently, though you have not listened, then I will make this house like Shiloh. You want to know what he did to the house of Shiloh? Go to Jeremiah 7:12. And I will make this city a curse for all the nations of the earth. So those who will not be subject to the commands of Elohim or the Father, make themselves subject to the curse of the Father. All right. To keep this in context, in this verse in Jeremiah, the people were mad at Jeremiah and called him a false prophet. But the thing is, they didn't know the difference between a false prophet and the real one, only because they weren't listening to what the Father told them to pay attention to in the first place. So fast forward to today. Right? That's why you have so many different factions out there with so many different doctrines, because no one wants to listen to what the Father actually is saying. We want to complain about the church, about they feel good messages, you know. You think that's not happening here in these assemblies, in these camps? It's the same thing. People on Facebook thinking they have the truth telling, trying to teach you without understanding. You know, it's the same thing back then as it is now. All the Father really wants you to do is what you said you would do, is be obedient. All right. Either you're going to obey or you're not. All right. All right. 2 Kings 17:13-14. Yet Yahuah warned Israel and Judah and Yehudah by every prophet. Now, you see these last couple of verses, or these last couple of verses are going to say who he sent to give his message to the people. I want you to keep that in mind. So this whole because you don't listen slide, we're going to revisit this in the future. I just wanted to give you a little tease of it. Excuse me. So by every prophet and every seer saying, turn from your evil ways and keep my commandments and my statutes, in accordance with all the law that I commanded your fathers, and that I sent to you by my servants, the prophets. But what they do, they would not listen, but were stubborn. Now, this is the H7186 Kashay. It's hard, difficult, strict, and prudent, with a sense of being stubborn, right? Stiff-necked, right? As their fathers had been, who did not believe in Yahuah, their Elohim. So the question is, you know, if you won't listen to the people that the Father has sent to guide you, who will you listen to that will help you in your journey in this walk? And you can't use that excuse that I only listen to the Father, because he has set up people as ambassadors for him. So if you won't listen to them, surely you aren't listening to the Father and or being obedient. There's no way around it. How are we doing so far? I can't see you.
Hakola Beseder.
All right. Jeremiah 42:19-22. Yahuah has said to you, O remnant of Judah, do not go to Egypt. Know for a certainty that I have warned you this day that you have gone astray at the cost of your lives. For you sent me to Yahuah your Elohim, saying, pray for us to Yahuah our Elohim, and whatever Yahuah our Elohim says, declare to us, and we will do it. Remember we read that last week? And I have this day declared it to you, but you have not obeyed the voice of Yahuah your Elohim in anything that he sent me to tell you. Now therefore know for a certainty that you shall die by the sword, by famine, and by pestilence in the place where you desire to go to live. And we said that this word is hafetz, it's the H2654 for desire, all right, to take pleasure or delight in. And here it is in the highlighted, be willing. This is with the sense of to take a high degree of pleasure or mental satisfaction. So now listen to this. It's not enough that, you know, the Father will send someone to you and deliver a message. How about when he sends you direct confirmation and you still don't take heed to it? at that point, what are you looking for? What are you expecting to happen? Now, remember, just like with the sacrifice that we talked about last week, vain prayer is going to be cut off as well. You pray and pray, oh, Father, help me with this and that. But when you get the answer, whatever it is, what do? Oh, no, I can't do that. Maybe if I pray another 15 times, I get what I want.
Maybe.
Well, that's what I said, maybe. Yeah. But the thing is, if he's sending you an answer and you're not following that, how much longer do you think he's going to hold on to that and try to give you what you want when you're not even applying what he's giving you? These are the effects of not listening. Because you're putting your emotions in it. That's what we just read before, right? You have your own paradigms in the mix. Your desires, your wants, your needs. Not what the Father wants to give you, not what the Father knows that you need. This is what's going to cause the confusion. This is what it's going to cause the disorganization. And this is what's going to cause anger and frustration because you're not getting what you want, but you're not listening and or hearing. How are we doing?
Dove.
Okay, so you are willingly being disobedient by your own fleshly desires, basically what I'm saying. And by doing this, you are saying, my salvation means nothing to me. Now, is this the type of life you want to live inside of the truth? That's a rhetorical question. All right. The judgment or the punishment will be more severe for those who have been given the knowledge because these are the things that you agreed to do. And people on the outside will have to answer as well, but they're not the ones who agreed to the covenant. You did. You think about that. All right. That wasn't too bad, was it? What we should be doing. Let's talk about it. Now, I asked about what was a living sacrifice, and I didn't really get the answer. More than I gave the answer. So we're going to read it again so we can see what a living sacrifice is. All right. This is part of what we should be doing. Romans 12, 1-2. I appeal or urge to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies or the compassion and pity of Elohim, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, set apart and acceptable or pleasing to Elohim,
Holy.
which is your spiritual worship. Do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of Elohim, what is good and acceptable and perfect. All right, so you have to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. You should be living your whole life in servitude to the Father. All right, this servitude has to be done wholeheartedly now. You have to be willing to do this. No straddling the fence. All right? This is how you're going to keep your focus where it needs to be. This is what will help you transform the renewal of your mind. You have to make the choice to serve the Father as a priority. Right? All right. So the Greek word for conformed here is, it's a long word now. I'm gonna say it slow. Soske matizo. It means to conform. This is with the sense to assimilate. Be conformed to be or become behaviorally or socially similar to. Conceived as being or becoming shaped or molded to a certain pattern. And when you do this, you are shaping your wisdom, your discernment, and your understanding onto the things of the world. Those things should be shaped by the Father's word. All right. 1 Corinthians 1:10. I appeal to you, brothers, by the name of our sovereign Yahuah Mashiach, that all of you agree. The Greek word here for agree is lego. All right, say, tell with a sense to say or declare. To state as one's opinion or judgment. So that all of you agree and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be united in the same mind and the same judgment. All right. And the word here for judgment is gnome. It's opinion, judgment, or purpose. Now, this is with a sense to have the same opinion or the same mind formed by judging something conceived of in terms of the mind. Right? So this is where we start to talking about being on one accord. This is part of the things that you need to be doing. Right? This is what can happen when you transform the mind. And I hope y'all see how Romans 12 and then Corinthians 1 go hand in hand. When you shape your wisdom, discernment, and understanding to the word, you start to align yourself with like-minded people. You begin to be around people who think just like you and have righteousness at the forefront of their journey in this walk. That's everybody in the room, right?
Let go, let go.
Yep. Philippians 1, 27 and 28. Only let your manner of life be worthy or befitting of the gospel or the good news of Yeshua. Now, this is the responsibility of all who are in this walk. Okay? So that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you that you are standing firm and one rock with one mind, striving side by side for the faith, not conforming to the world and the things of it. Right? We all need to remain unified in maintaining the word of the gospel or the good news, right? And not frightened in anything by your opponents. This is a clear sign to them of their destruction, but of your salvation, and that from Elohim. So when you come together cohesively in righteousness, anything that's being thrown at you from the other side shouldn't matter, because you got your strong tower that you're supposed to be leaning on. But if this breaks in the line, something can get through. That's not showing unity. That's not being of the same mind. Philippians 2, 1-5. So if there's any encouragement of Mashiach, any comfort from love, any participation in the Ruach, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also in the interest of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Mashiach Yahushua. Everyone should be unified and model the same characteristics of the Mashiach. That's point blank. Without that, it won't work. All right. Matthew 11, 28-30. Come to me, all who labor, all those that are weary, those who are tired, and are heavy laden or overburdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke, which is the Greek word zugos, right? It means a coupling, i.e. for the servitude, a law or obligation, literally the beam of the balance as connecting the scales. Right? So take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So you have to connect yourself to the word. Now, following the word will give you the rest you seek. We're talking about the type of rest that comes with being obedient, right? When you start to conform to the things and the people of the world, that's when things will get out of hand. You will get mentally and physically tired and overburdened. That's not all that these verses say. That's just one example, but it shows, the importance of not neglecting the commandments. Right? 1 Peter 2 and 21. For to this you have been called, because Mashiach also suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you might follow in his steps. Remember, we talked about, I think during the anger series, about suffering for the sake of Mashiach. Right? And this is what this walk is. It's a call to follow the word and be obedient. You're going to get tested, of course. This testing is not to bring you under it, but it's to strengthen your foundation, to bring you up better from where you are. And the theme through this whole thing has been that you have to have a willingness to do this. All these things that are supposed to be bringing you down can be rectified, but you have your part in it. Remember, we always said the Father's love is conditional. You got some condition. You do this, you're going to see this, and so on. 1 John 2:46. Whoever says, I know him, but does not keep his commandments is a liar. The truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him truly the love of Elohim is perfected. By this we may know that we are in him, and whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. So there it is right there. We have to be one when it comes to the word. Everybody has to be on the same page. Remember, I said that it starts with you as an individual. Because if you're not getting yourself right, again, when you try to put all this together with everybody else, one little crack in the foundation can ruin the whole thing. You all have to be unified and united and strong in this walk. A person cannot be in this truth and say they love Yah and their brothers and sisters and not be obedient to the Father's word. The inner man versus the outer man. Right? With the work of Mashiach in a person necessitates them acting on his behalf out of love. All right. 1 John 5:10. Whoever believes in the Son of Elohim has the testimony or the evidence of the witness in himself. Whoever does not believe in Elohim has made him a liar, because he has not believed in the testimony or the evidence of the witness that Elohim has bore concerning his Son. So you're deceiving yourself when you do this, when you straddle the fence, when you teach something you haven't studied. Now, it's a start there because I was going to say the group that I was talking about, but I won't. But in case you wonder who I'm talking about, the first word starts with a T, the last word starts with an O. You can come to your own conclusion who I'm talking about. All right. Understand when you do this, you are going against the Father and his word, not us, not the Morehs or the people you choose to debate with. We don't have to convince you of anything. All we got to do is give you the word. The Mashiach, that's what he did. He gave the word. He said, y'all bless and good night. All right. You have to be willing enough to take that word and to apply it. John 5:37-40. And the Father who sent me has himself bore witness about me. His voice you have never heard. His form you have never seen. And you do not have his word abiding or dwelling or being present in you. Again, how can you say you love and believe in the Father when you don't believe or apply his word? For you do not believe the one who he has sent, I'm sorry. You search the scriptures because you think that in them you have eternal life. And it is they that bear witness about me. You can't just read it. You gotta be about it. Yet you refuse to come to me that you may have life. Excuse me. Hebrews 13:15. Through him, then let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to Elohim. Excuse me. That is the fruit of the lips that acknowledge his name. Did I say that he is the same yesterday as he is today? So we should continue to do what we were created for, which is to give him praise, right? Ephesians 5:20-21. Giving thanks always and for everything to Elohim the Father, in the name of our sovereign Yahuah Mashiach, submitting to one another out of reverence, which is that fear that we should all have for Mashiach. And I said, no, where's your respect for the word and what it could do for you in your life? That's a rhetorical question. It's something you need to ask yourself. And last we're going to go to Hebrews 13:16. Do not neglect. Now, this is another long word, right? So the Greek word here for neglect is epilandeomai, right? I say it slow. Epilandeomai. Means to forget, to overlook, with the sense to be negligent in remembering someone or something. So do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to Elohim. Right? I also said, treat others the way you want the Father to treat you. Don't mistake their kindness for weakness. All right, now, I wrote that statement before. You know, I shared the note of the gunman at Walmart in Chesapeake. Now, he left this note on his phone, you know, talking about how he was being basically chastised and being made fun of because of who he was. You know, and I was just saying, you know, you have to be careful how you treat people, especially if you see them on a regular basis. You can't be ugly to someone and expect good to come from. You know, that's not how this works. And if you're in the truth doing that, it's even worse. You are truly showing what you're made of from the inside, right? Not only can the Father see, but now we can see it too, because usually we just see what's on the outside. We can't get to that inner core. That's the Father. But when you display it on your own, it's all displayed for everybody to see. And you have to remember that all of this is being recorded. So when we come back from this little break, we're going to start to go in a little bit more about this judgment. And when you doing things like this, you will see yourself and all your faults at the judgment, right? So, you know, if you're okay with that, so am I. But I'm not saying that's not something you should strive for. And if you want to be treated a certain way, why can't you do the same for someone else? It doesn't matter if they're in the truth or not, honestly. This is just some of the characteristics that you should have, especially being in this truth. Remember, it's not all about you. It's about doing what the Father wants, in which will please him and not you. We were made to praise and worship him, not ourselves. All right. How we doing? We're almost done here. All right. Are you of the brokenhearted? That's all I need to know. Anybody answer? Okay. Psalms 34:18. Yahuah is near to the brokenhearted. This means to be broken in the Ruach, or to be weakened or destroyed in the Ruach. Not someone who has a puffed up heart or puffed up ego, okay? And saves the crushed, again, broken or subdued or brought low in the Ruach. Psalms 51:17. The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken Ruach, a broken and contrite heart. Now, this is the feeling or expressing pain or sorrow for sins or offenses. These are the things you will not despise, okay? Now, when you talk about something that's despised, you used to look down on with contempt and coincidentally, which is what you do when you are disobedient to the Father. You show a lack of respect or reverence or fear for him and his word. That should put a different perspective on it. Even when you think it's something small and minuscule, you're still showing a lack of respect. Isaiah 66:2. All these things my hand has made, and so all these things came to be, declares Yahuah. But this is the one to whom I will look. He who is humble and contrite in Yahuah and trembles at my words. Let's go right back to what it says in Psalms 51:17. It's confirmation of what we just read, right? This is how to show the proper attitude of reverence for the Father. And then you have Psalms 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Now, I think I said this a little while ago. As lowly as you think you might be, these things you go through for the sake of his word are not meant to tear you down, but genuinely build you up. You just have to do your part. And again, only because you said you would. You got to go through something in order to get something. Right? Isaiah 11:2. And the ruach of Yahuah shall rest upon him, the ruach of wisdom and understanding, the ruach of counsel and might, and the ruach of knowledge and the fear of Yahuah. All the things that we should be modeling ourselves after. All right. So how do we do all that? Right? By doing good. We're going to go to Isaiah 1, start at 16 and go to 20. Wash yourselves. Make yourselves clean. And this is to purify yourself morally. Remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes. Cease to do evil, which is to commit an act that is morally wrong. 1 Peter 3:11-12. Let him turn away from evil and do good. This is the moral of excellence. Let him seek peace and pursue it. So run after what's good. For the eyes of Yahuah are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their prayer. But the face of Yahuah is against those who do evil. Remember, all your deeds are being recorded. Right? There should be no excuse for bad behavior, only to act surprised when the stuff you pray for doesn't come about. Now, I'm referring to when you know you're doing something wrong and still want the Father to bless you in some way, shape, or form. And I don't have an address for that. You have to turn away from your evil deeds in order to get or to go where you're trying to go and or trying to get. All right, so let's pick up on Isaiah 1, starting at verse 17-20. Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause. Come now, let us reason together, says Yahuah. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall become like wool. Look at this. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be eaten by the sword, for the mouth of Yahuah has spoken. Believe it or not, you still have a choice. All right? You can still do what's good in the eyes of the Father. It all comes down to that willingness and lack thereof. Not only feel sorrow for the sin you committed, but break off that practice altogether. You know you did something wrong, you repented of it, you ain't supposed to do it again. That was the whole premise of the sacrifice, which they didn't learn. But you need to apply yourselves instead of doing what you think is good and acceptable. This is one of the problems when you don't listen. You put your desires and your wants and your needs above the Father, as though you're the Elohim and that you can make the own decisions. So what do you need to pray for? There's no reason for you to be in this walk if it's that case. This lesson was to showcase that by not listening and having a negative mindset, this won't bring forth unification, only disobedience and judgment. Now, I understand that not everyone will be in agreement with everything, but when you are supposedly dealing with like-minded people and being obedient, you should be on one accord. Just like with everything we do, it starts with you as an individual. Once you are able to conquer yourself, it will be easy to fall in line with others and be successful walking the same path. All right, that's it. Comments, concerns, and you see my man, he changed his shirt. He said that he heard what the people in the front were saying about him because he didn't have on fringes. So he started to look for other assemblies, and he found someone that accepted him as he was. So I blame
Right? Oh yeah.
I blame the people in the front because he overheard them and it was discouraging to him. You should be ashamed of yourself. All right.
All right.
Comments, questions, or concerns?
Come on now. You know about that conquering yourself. It's easier said than done.
Hey, look, it's always easier on paper. I get it.
All right, you got a hand in the room.
Go ahead.
Shalom, Mikey.
Hello.
You said a lot of things, but one thing that did stood out was T.O. So I would like to talk to you personally about that.
Okay. Torah only.
Here's with a T.
Torah only. People who only read these things not with the Mashiach in mind. Yes, these words come from the Father, but he sent him as an example, but people don't want to accept that example. Is what I'm talking about. Like what Mashiach said, you study these scriptures diligently, but these things are witnessing of him. But you don't want to accept that. So that's what I was saying. I didn't want to say it out loud, but I said, it's Torah.
Oh, we thought you were talking about Terrell Owens.
No, I'm not. Go ahead, Nadamana.
Shalom, Moreh. I'm really enjoying these lessons, and I'm sorry that you are feeling a bit under the weather. However, the Father is able to make you feel better with your current infirmities right now. I hope to see you back in the congregation with everyone or the assembly very soon. Are you going to continue these specific type teachings? Do you know?
We got a long way to go on this. If we just gonna take a little break and let Moreh Sharat Mikael take over.
Hallelujah. Yahuah. All right, Moreh. Well, like I said, I really do enjoy these teachings. I hope and pray that the Father heals you of your infirmities, and I hope and pray to see you and your mishpachah back in the assembly soon. Toda.
Hallelujah. Bye. Anything else?
All right.
All right. All hearts and minds are clear.
All hearts and minds are clear. Sirach?
Baruch Atab Yahuwah Melech Halam. Abba Yahuwah, we say Total Rabbah for your presence with us. Total Rabbah for the message that you gave us, Father. We incline our ear to hear it and to put into practice, Father. Abba, we ask that you would continue to give us a ruach of unity, that we may walk together on one accord, Abba Yahuwah. I ask that you would continue to send down your Ruach of healing to Moreh Chanan, that he will be back with us in person next week. Abba Yahuah, ask that you would go before us and go with us as we depart, that we would be separate from each other for a few days, but never separate from you. Abba Yahuah, I lift you up, I honor you, and I thank you for your worthy of all praise.